Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Now we're on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 12. So Prahlad Maharaj has addressed his own self-doubt, his own imposter syndrome, his real or perceived disqualifications, and he's going to make a conclusion in this verse. 7, 9, 12. Tasmadahang vikata viklava ishvarasya sarvatmana mahigranami yatamanisham nicho jayaguna visarga manu pravishtav puyeta yeno hipamana nuvarnitena. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Therefore, although I was born in a demoniac family, I may, without doubt, offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor, as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified of material life if they offer prayers to the Lord and hear the Lord's glories. Purport. It is clearly understood that a devotee does not need to be born in a very high family, to be rich, to be aristocratic, or to be very beautiful. None of these qualifications will engage one in devotional service. With devotion, one should feel, God is great, and I am very small. Therefore, my duty is to offer my prayers to the Lord. Only on this basis can one understand and render service to the Lord. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, Bhaktya mama pijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mang tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Quote, one can understand the Supreme Personality as He is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, they can enter into the kingdom of God. Thus Prahlad Maharaj decided to offer his best prayers to the Lord without consideration of his material position. Jai.
Jai.
Om Jnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shrakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Putale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatire Shatarane Vanchakalpatarupshascha Kripasantupya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Therefore, although I was born in a demoniac family, I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified of material life if they offer prayers to the Lord and hears the Lord's glories. Jai. Without a doubt, he says. Without a doubt. He spent like 4 or 5 verses clearing up those doubts. So now he can say without a doubt. So that's one point. In bhakti, we have doubts. That's life. Life is full of doubt. And that's okay. It's really important to own your doubts, because if you own them, you can have them answered. Either through internal guidance, the intelligence, as Prabhupada says, if it's used properly, is the form direction of the super soul. So even if you could figure something out, it's just because Krishna helps you to do it. If you actually do figure it out, don't just dig your hole further. But internally or externally, the doubt is answered because it's owned. If you don't own your doubt, you can never have it answered. You can't solve a problem you won't admit exists. So that's the first point. Prahlad Maharaj owns his doubts, and therefore he is able to address them. And he addresses them properly through guidance. He says, well, Gajendra took shelter of Krishna, Krishna accepted him, and actually have understood that the devotee is quite fit to address the Lord regardless of material qualities or disqualifications. Therefore, my doubts have been answered. All right, so that's the first point. The next point is this very heartfelt experience of just offering prayers. This is so universal, right? I may without a doubt offer prayers with full endeavor, as far as my intelligence allows, right? There's the old expression, there are no atheists in foxholes. I think the foxhole is like, it's like a ditch you dig in warfare that you hide in to stick your head out and take a shot at somebody, and they're taking shots at you. Imagine like World War I, the trenches. You're in the trenches, you're getting bombed. There's no atheists there. Why? Because everyone's calling out for help. Because it's a desperate situation. Whether or not you believe in God, you're asking for help when you need it. That's the fact. That is the essential fact underlying this point, that you may offer prayers. You don't have to know God. You don't have to be a pure devotee. You don't have to have the Lord's undivided attention because you're such a great sadhu, acharya. That's not the point. The point is, as Prabhupada says, very poignantly, with devotion one should feel God is great and I am very small. Therefore my duty is to offer prayers to the Lord. I'm small. And someone out there is great. And my source is great in the sense of large and also great in the sense of fantastic. and we can call out. And so that's the basis. And if you can feel that, then you can offer prayers. And anything else is a deepening of that devotion, because that basic sense that there is God and I'm not Him, that's the basic foundation. And from there, it deepens. My Guru Maharaj tells a story of going on book distribution, and he met a very elderly, very refined gentleman who said, "Yes, I appreciate what you're doing. I'm actually a man of God. I've been serving." I think he was a Christian. I don't recall 100%, but he said he was serving as clergy for many years. And my Guru Maharaj asked him, "Oh, fantastic. Can you please tell me what you've realized? I would love to hear it." And he said, "Well, I've realized only two things for sure. One, there is a God. And two, I'm not Him." And it's actually extremely profound. And if you can realize this, or even have a sense that it may be true, that's great. That's fantastic, actually. He was being very humble. I've only understood two things for sure. But this is fantastic advancement to stick with those two things, and then everything is built on top of that, because Krishna is willing to reveal so much to the humble soul, and the revelation comes by this exchange of offering. And one of the main ways of offering is in prayer. So if you can realize, well, there's a God and I'm not Him, then you can pray, and that's it. And so I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor as far as my intelligence allows. And that's the really cool thing, is that everybody's capacity is different. In fact, our capacity, any given person's capacity, if measured across time, is also always different. Actually, everything's always changing. Even your height is changing. You get up in the morning, it's a little taller than later because gravity hasn't been acting on your spine as much. But the cool thing about bhakti is that it keeps increasing. So if you feel like your capacity for realizing Krishna, your ability to offer a prayer is very small, that's okay. Good news. Prahlad Maharaj felt the same way. And he's so great that he gets most of an entire canto dedicated to him. He's like an all-time devotee. So you're in good company. Don't worry about feeling insignificant. That's fine. In the ultimate sense, everyone is insignificant compared to Krishna. And as far as your intelligence allows, you can offer prayers. And there is a verse in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that's offered in, I believe, 2 different places that says almost exactly the same thing, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami makes this point. He says, birds fly in the sky as high as their ability allows them to. And it's this point of, you do what you can, right? And he would know, because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was a very, very old man when he undertook writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why did he undertake writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Because no one less than Lord Nityananda ordered him to. Effectively, he said, "Go to Vrindavan, and everything will be revealed to you there." He went to Vrindavan, and the devotees like Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, who were there, engaged him in service. What did they get him to do? They got him to tell the story of Lord Chaitanya, because he had had association with those who had had association with Lord Chaitanya. And so, although he was a very old man, and by his own admission, his memory was failing, his hand was shaking, he had palsy, he couldn't really function in his material body. He was telling and writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita in a way that was astonishing even to him. And so he was saying, I'm doing the best I can, and it's actually amazing I can even do this much, but birds fly in the sky as high as their ability allows. And I'm following the footsteps of great devotees. I've heard from Surab Damodar, who actually had the association. I'm not a real devotee, but they're a real devotee. And I can just present to the best of my ability. And I'm following the footsteps of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, who wrote the Chaitanya Bhagavat, the chronologically, first biography of Lord Chaitanya. I'm just following in his footsteps, and they're real devotees, and I'm not a real devotee. And that's there. And we're, even in science, there's this idea of standing on the shoulders of giants, we're making some research, it's making a difference in the world potentially, but any honest scientist is like, yeah, but, there's thousands of scientists who've done so much that because of their work, I'm able to take things a step further, so I'm really just a servant to all of them. So if you can own that, then as far as your intelligence goes, it goes, and that's okay. And you offer your prayers. And so the other point I wanted to make about this this dynamic of offering prayers and engaging in bhakti is that while it's true that we can offer prayers, and any prayer you sincerely offer from your heart is glorious, and the Lord will hear it. There will be reciprocation. What's also true is that we can follow in the footsteps of devotees who have more devotion than we do. Just like I made the point that scientists follow in the footsteps of already successful scientists, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was just following so many great devotees. We know that we can offer our prayers to the Lord and have them be answered because Prahlad Maharaj is offering an all-time prayer that says exactly that. Mm-hmm. And we're reading this section because I've read this section many times because other great devotees have brought it to my attention I should read this section many times. And every time I do, my mind is blown and my life has changed. And I'm not exaggerating because Prahlad is just that awesome. He's just that great. He's such an amazing devotee. And so my point here is that you can and should offer your very sincere, specifically individual prayers to the Lord that are coming from your heart. And you can also make tremendous advancement by reciting, reading, memorizing, putting yourself in front of the prayers of other great devotees, like devotees who are more advanced than yourself. When we read Prabhupada's prayers that he wrote in the Jaladuta, when we read Prahlad's prayers, the Bhagavatam is full of these actually. Even Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, has a series of prayers by Arjuna, who is like flabbergasted at Krishna's greatness when he's coming face to face with it after seeing the universal form. Those are powerful. You have, you have Brahma's prayers in Canto 10, chapter 13. You have Dhruva's prayers, Canto 4. You have, the prayer, Kunti's prayers. We read them, Canto 1, chapter 8. He has Bhishma's prayers, Canto 1, chapter 9. You have the Gopis' prayers. You have the prayers of Vasudeva, you have Narada's prayers, you have Vyasadev's prayers. They're all such amazing devotees. Shukadev, Pariksha Maharaj, Yudhishthir, Bhishma, Bhima, Draupadi, and they all have Krishna's ear, Prahlad, and they all have a very special place in his heart. And so, if you recite those prayers, you will understand how a devotee feels way beyond your own qualification. Way beyond your qualification. So, if you go to school and you study very hard, you can understand Newtonian physics. And if you study very hard, you can understand post-Newtonian physics. That is based on the science of even more advanced intellects. That have stood on the shoulders of Isaac Newton. And you have to do that to actually be qualified to understand, you have Euclidean geometry and your post-Euclidean geometry. Like, it just gets more and more complicated. You have to have the qualification to enter into that classroom, and what to speak of teaching that class. It's not like that in Bhakti. You don't have to have the Bhakti of Prahlad Maharaj to realize the Bhakti of Prahlad Maharaj. Mm-hmm. That's the really cool thing. You can be a total schmuck, and because you're reading Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, you get lifted right up. In physics, you can't lift anything without an equal and opposite reaction. You can't without pushing down. In Bhakti, you can, because there's an absolute force with these prayers dragging anybody who gets near them upward, closer to Krishna. And that's the really cool thing about all of them. And that's why the Bhagavatam is full of these prayers, because they're all uttered by all-time devotees. This is like an all-star game. You have the greatest athletes, but these are the greatest devotees. These are some of the greatest devotees of all time. That's why they make the pages. And the commentaries of Srila Prabhupada, drawing on all-time acharyas, just amplify it for us. So when you put yourself in front of these prayers, when you study these prayers, when you hear these prayers, you can enter into the mood of no less a soul than Prahlad Maharaj. And that's very attractive to Krishna. That attracts his attention, attracts his transcendental ears. And it also informs how you can make advancement in bhakti. Because there's a lot of powerful lessons in them. I'm trying to bring them out every week as we study these prayers, because there's so much there. So every time you're seeing these points come out from these purports or from these classes or your own realizations, is just fortifying the essential point I'm making now, which is that following the footsteps of more advanced devotees and their prayers is a level of education that you can't get anywhere else, and completely eclipses our own disqualifications. So definitely offer your own sincere, heartfelt prayers, and to completely short-circuit the process of gradually advancing and make rapid, staggeringly rapid advancement. Put yourself in front of the sound vibration of great devotees like Prahlad, because those prayers are so powerful that Lord Chaitanya read this section 100 times. More than, we don't know actually how many times he read it, but he read it over and over again, to the point where he was crying unstoppably, and he wouldn't be allowed near the Bhagavatam because it was destroying the substance that was the banana leaves that was Bhagavatam was written on. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said his disciples should read this section 100 times. This is why. This is actually why. Because when a devotee opens up their heart and shares their prayers, it's an uncorking of an unbelievable vintage of power, right? It's so concentrated, the realization that is there. And effectively that's what the Bhagavatam is. The Bhagavad Gita is Krishna speaking, and the Bhagavatam is not really as much Krishna speaking or any of his incarnations. It's mostly Krishna's devotees speaking about him. And that's in a way even more powerful. Because if you want to get bhakti, you got to go to the bhakta. They know Krishna in a way he doesn't even know himself. They love Krishna, and you can too. And if you hear from them, you get strapped to a rocket. So that's what's happening here. We're hearing from Prahlad, and we can without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor as far as our own intelligence allows. And his last point, anyone who's been forced to enter the mature world by ignorance may be purified if they offer prayers to the Lord and hear the Lord's glories. So once again, we can stand with this side-by-side reality of our own material disqualification and the 100% effectiveness of the cleaning agent. I have these like advertisements, commercials. I've seen like commercials from the 50s for like, I don't know, Tide and whatever. The claims they make about like the cleansing power of your laundry detergent or your stain remover or whatever. It's like trying to catch all the I guess back then it was all the housewives who were making the decisions about what to buy to clean their household products. Well, guess what? Bhakti's actually that. Without a lie, it's actually the most powerful cleansing agent. So take that side by side with the disgusting quality of the material world and how nasty it is to be in ignorance. What the material world is, when you look at it, is just so much. There's so much to be shaking your head about. And take that side by side with the unstoppable cleaning power of bhakti. and prayers offered with sincerity, especially by pure devotees. But even if you don't have that pure devotion, that sincere prayer of God is great and I'm small and therefore I'm offering prayers, Krishna notices that. And who can put a price tag on that? Who can say how valuable it is to catch the ear of the supreme, all-attractive, all-powerful person? Wouldn't you want that? Isn't that sound like a good idea? So those are some points. Hopefully they were cogent and useful and inspiring. Now we'll take any reflections, anything that stood out, comments, questions, reflections, prayers you may remember that have inspired you in your bhakti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Well, first, I really love and appreciate that truth of we can't dispel our doubts if we don't first own them. And so it's like just admitting that doubt or whatever it may be is there helps to like loosen its hold a little bit. And then we can ask for help to work through them and to find our way to, come to a more integrated faith or in whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that is wonderful. And that goes with anything. Like we have to recognize like what we're actually experiencing in order to move through it and that level of honesty that's required. And then the other thing I loved that you were talking about, or I was thinking about how incredibly like graceful and merciful pact this practice is, that like inherent in bhakti is like, and in all of our texts is, it's like a fast track to deepening our devotion just by reading someone else's prayers, right? And by, as you said, not discouraging me from having my own sincere, heartfelt prayers, but to have a sense of like what deep realization and the deep realization that these pure devotees have. It's something to like even understand that's truly possible is so inspiring and activating and can even like muster up a morsel of that within me, and it makes me think of what we spoke about a few weeks ago, and it came up in T&T Lock last night too, about how you were sharing, we were reading the Bhagavatam about like just hearing about devotees appreciating each other, like you receive benefit from that. Right? It's like just reading someone else's prayer or hearing someone else's prayer, you receive benefit from that. It's so just much. This like ever flowing. So
right. What a great deal, right?
Grace.
What an incredible deal.
Yeah.
What an absolute steal of a deal.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That first point that you can't overcome doubts you don't own. That's why these prayers are so powerful. Like, who would have guessed that like these all-time prayers begin with the person who's praying being like, oh man, I don't even deserve to be here. Like, how real is that? Right? Like, who's ever gotten to the gold medal podium and the first thing they say is like, oh man, I'm so insignificant. Yeah. Right? Like, what an incredible thing. And how relatable that makes it, because everybody's suffering from imposter syndrome. Everybody's got deficiencies. And here's Prahlad being like, yeah, I got big deficiencies. My dad is like mega Hitler,
Yeah.
So how relatable and powerful that is. And then your second point was, remind me again?
About
the great deal of bhakti, that how fast you make advancement.
Yeah, and how much there's just so much grace and mercy just inherent in our practice.
Yeah, and so like that first thing that happens is you realize it's even possible to have bhakti like Prahlad has.
Yeah.
What eventually happens is that you start to get Prahlad's blessings and the blessings of the devotees, which it's an amazing thing because devotees actually want to empower other people. They want to give everything they have because they have a bottomless reserve. They want to just keep giving. And if you let it, their bhakti will come and transform your heart. So when you hear prayers like Prahlad and study them and hear them, read them, get in front of it over and over again, eventually what happens is that you learn in a non-intellectual way, you learn in a very deep way how to love. Your heart can actually become transformed because like our capacity to love now is whatever it is, right? And so we might think like, oh, I'm very small. But Prahlad is actually trying to expand us. He's actually waving a magic wand and he's prepared to magically transform our ability to love God. our ability to see him, our ability to realize him, our ability to call on him, our intelligence. As far as your intelligence allows, like, you have to study so hard to increase your intelligence the slightest bit, right? Mm-hmm. And even then, like, it's debatable how much your capacity for knowledge really increases. Just your actual content of knowledge increases. But your capacity is whatever it was karmically. Like, what can you do? Get a good night's sleep, eat healthy. Like, what can you do to actually increase your material intelligence? Very little. It is what it is. But in bhakti, your capacity can multiply all the time if you allow yourself to be transformed by what the devotees want to give you. Mm-hmm. If you're humble enough to be like, whatever bhakti I have, yes, it's real, but I have very small capacity. Gurudev, Prahlad, dear devotees, you please expand my heart. Then you know what? You're going to be transformed into something way beyond what you recognize. That's the really cool thing. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to say that because, I'm seeing that in my own life. I don't have any qualification to speak anything this great, but I'm doing it because other devotees have empowered me. Haribol. More reflections.
Well, first this time. Thank you so much for class. One of the things that I was thinking, and thank you, the idea that I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't even, if I don't hear these beautiful prayers, or if I don't try to bring them in and I digest them and have them touch my heart, I wouldn't realize that there are places in my heart that are hurting. They give me that, open me up to this possibility that, I hadn't even thought of that. That's the place where I had been sort of stuck, and you're helping me in this regard. I also was thinking that I believe that prayers are always answered, but I don't know the timing, don't know how they're going to be answered. I have to be open to the fact that it may not be even in this lifetime that my prayers are answered. And I have to just be able to offer them honestly without an expectation of an outcome. And so, thank you so much. The idea that bhakti can supercharge where I am or what I'm doing just by hearing and ruminating on these beautiful prayers that are present within our literature. Thank you.
Jai, thank you. Yeah, just sitting with Krishna's, it's his own sweet will how he responds to the prayers. I mean, we can feel the prayer being accepted. We can feel the connection, but like when you're asking for something, or you're like, especially we're asking for like pure devotion, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says something astonishing about this. He says that generally, the full fruit of bhakti, i.e., the full fruit of unconditional prema, does not manifest right away in the lives of devotees. It manifests very close to death or at death. And there are reasons for this he gives. One reason is, if it manifested right away, it would make it impossible for anybody else to take up any other process, because you would have a planet full of people who are like luminous, effulgent saints immediately upon taking to bhakti. And that would be actually a kind of cheating, because it would cheat everybody else out of any other process of karmic advancement that they want to take, for example. So Krishna has to maintain a sense of fairness, that people they have their faith already. They want to follow something. He can't artificially shake that. So sometimes devotees don't even come to pure love until they're on their deathbed. Vishwanath says that. So how's that, right? Like, look at Narada Muni. Krishna said, I've appeared to you one time. I want to appear to you again in this life. Narada Muni, but he takes a spiritual body after he leaves that body. But he spends the rest of that life just like sincere service. It's like, okay, whatever you want, Krishna, I'm here. I'm not going to stop praying. I'm not going to stop chanting the mantra that my gurus gave me. But the full fruit, whenever you want. I can't make it happen. So it's a really wild thing to think about. If Narada went through it, then why won't we, potentially? Thanks. More reflections. I know Tanya's got something. I can
I
feel it.
know, I'm here. I was letting others go first because I'm always talking. Um, what you said after Kishori's sharing, with bhakti, you learn how to love. I've been sitting with that since you said it, and it's just I love this chapter. I've read it. I mean, I read it a few times. And Midori Gopi and I have talked about a lot of this in the past as well regarding, Prahlad. Um, it's such a powerful chapter. The whole, I came from a demoniac family, yet I can still qualified to approach Krishna with I can endeavor to do that. Um, is just so amazing to me. And the just reflecting back some of the analogies. There's no atheists in foxholes. When you're in it and you're crying out for help. None of the past and none of those other things matter. Um, it's just
Yeah, it's way beyond
I don't know.
dogma.
I'm not very articulate this week. I'm speechless. I don't, there's a lot going on in here. So I'm loving doing this. Thank you for all of your service, all of your love, and everything that you've been, doing for me personally and for us as a community.
It's really our pleasure. You're welcome. Thanks for being so steady in everything, especially these classes. Like, oh, I'm always speaking. Well, that's the gem that you're offering all of us. Yeah, it's every time somebody offers a reflection, I get like a different perspective on something, and that's why it's my favorite part of the class. So thanks for sharing. Yeah, um, yeah, that point of like having our heart transformed and learning how to love, it's amazing because we're made for it, so we do know how to love, and yet material existence means that we have, by definition, it just means that there's a series of obstacles and pollution and confusion, misunderstandings, trauma, negative self-talk, um, material attachments, fear, anxiety, anger, resentment, all these things, right? All that stuff that makes being a human being. And every single one of those things and more is an obstacle to loving. So, like, when you have even a little bit of that removed, you've made progress in the goal of life. That's actually why we're here, is to get over all that garbage and remember how to love again, which means loving Krishna, through which we can love everybody and everything properly. But like sometimes there's this thing of like, well, I don't need to know how to love. Like that's what I'm made for. Like we're all love. It's like, yeah, but look at the world. You think the world is full of people who are just all worse than you? That you're just the acharya. You wouldn't make the same mistakes they're making if you had power and prestige and position. Everybody's the same. We're all basically the same. But look at the world. Look how messy it is. Look at human history. Look at the series of mistakes that have constantly been. Look at your own life if you're actually humble enough to admit your own faults. Like, if we didn't need to learn something, then why would the world look the way it is? And we wouldn't be here. And yes, definitely, it is a fact that we're made for love. And the really humbling thing is we're really bad at it because of our misunderstandings. And when you remove all that and you get back to who we actually are, then it's really sweet and natural and fun and cool. That's what we're made for. Like birds are made to fly. They fly. They fly as high as they can fly. They all fly. We're just sitting on the ground. We're all ostriches sticking our head in the earth. I can't fly. I can't even see the sky. So, thanks, Prahlad. We appreciate you.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
I got my thoughts together a little bit better. That ability to love that I've certainly developed in the last 6 years of practicing, makes it's like an ability to communicate better too, to an ability to see others' perspectives,
Yeah.
and I'm more able and willing to have a conversation that is difficult than I was back then, because I have a more open perspective,
Right.
um, than I have in the past, and I have more acceptance of the other perspectives than I've had in the past. And it's interesting. I have a couple relationships that are really growing because of that opening of my heart and that ability to communicate in a way that is new and different to me. Um, and I had somebody in that one of those relationships approach me yesterday, um, with a sincere desire to talk about something I never talk about, which is politics, and said, "I know we're not on this." She said, "I know we're not on the same side, and I really want to have this conversation, and I want to learn." And we were able to start open that door, because I don't normally go there with people that I have a surface relationship with. And it's not surface, but I'm talking about a very deep trust with. And it was an interesting conversation, and I really feel like that the ability to have that conversation, and the not even to have the conversation, the fact that she was able to approach me in that way is a reflection of my heart opening and being open to all the different possibilities out there as well. So that's where I was going earlier, and I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Um, as an analogy, like consider an analogical situation. Consider like how brittle the faith is of fanatics, right? Well, when they're challenged, what do? They raise their voice. They pound on the pulpit. Why do they do that? Because they have to, because they're afraid of doubt, because they haven't addressed their own doubt. They haven't sat with their doubt. Therefore, if somebody says, well, wait a minute, why is there eternal damnation if you just like, or they ask some question they don't have an answer to, then it's like, how dare you, don't you dare challenge. That's the mood of a fanatic, because their faith is actually very brittle. It's very weak, and they have to overcompensate for that. And an advancing devotee has sat with their doubts, and a more advanced devotee has had their doubts answered, etc., etc. And so their conduct is different, which comes through in the way they communicate, and how they communicate, who they communicate with, how open they are to being challenged. Like, you can have somebody come up to you who's completely wrong and just rip into you, and how do you deal with that, right? Like, that's really hard. Krishna says in the 11th canto, the hardest thing to deal with are the ignorant words of a fool. Can you handle that? Can you handle someone like misunderstanding you in exactly the way you fear you'll be misunderstood? Can you handle that? Can you handle all your trauma being poked at with a stick? Because Krishna will do that. He'll put you in that situation so you can see just how triggered you are. If you can handle that, you're making advancement. And if you can do anything to like receive challenging situations, like what we were talking about, politics, death, religion. These are the most challenging topics. If you can have challenging conversations around them with people who challenge you, then you're making advancement. It's a good thing. And if you can learn something, if they can learn something, that's good. If you can learn something, that's great, because there's always something to learn. And having your attachment shaken up is a good thing, and it's a sign of maturation. So good for you. Yeah, Leanne offers in the chat. Thank you so much. I was reflecting on how Bhakti really teaches you a lot and grounds you through a lot of the teachings and discussions. Bhakti is always there for everyone through it all. We learn so much from other devotees. Thank you so much for the teachings. Sorry for the typos. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, yeah. It's the thing we want to have, that when we look back on years, we can be like, Bhakti was always there, and it always offered me so much because of the Sangha it gave me, and the prayers. We're going to read these so many times before before this body dies. We're going to read these prayers as many times as Krishna lets us, and we'll look back and we'll be like, wow, Bhakti Devi really showed up for me. So I'm really glad that's happening for you already, and I can't wait for that to happen more and more. Mm-hmm. Jai. Oh, there's one more comment. Madhuri Gopi, Hare Krishna. I need to get going. I just wanted to say thank you for the discussion around doubt. Recently, I've been reading Bhaktivinoda's Prayers of Sharanagati, and he speaks a lot about approaching the lotus feet of Krishna to seek a sense of fearlessness in this worldly position of being a jiva in a human body, to surrender completely. And I've been really feeling just how far away that sense of fearlessness feels at times, and I'm recognizing that the distance is also self-doubt. So here I am open to my doubts that I will hold, and try to recognize it's a shortcoming in trust, to lean into the love. Yeah, the prayers of devotees, like Sharanagati is a great example, they're so good because they're like first class poetry. They're like genius level into intelligence, and they also shed light on our own shortcomings in a way that we're not prepared to do yet, because they're spoken from the heart of people who have actually dealt with their own shortcomings. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wasn't like having a crisis of the soul when he wrote Sharanagati. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a very mature devotee who had already addressed so many doubts. But he was in touch with that psychology, and he was able to sit with it in a realized way, right? It's like listening to a song written by somebody who's gone through something. You actually get to experience that something. But what's happening here is Bhaktivinoda Thakur has experienced resolving that doubt and coming to closure. And that closure is in terms of his surrender to Krishna and how that makes everything okay and how it answers his doubts and how it, answers the question and it completes everything and it fulfills, and the circle is now complete. And all of that's there because he's actually done that work. And so when you see that, you make advancement. You can also realize, I haven't actually answered my own doubts. I actually have that, and it's still there. It's still alive. It's still sitting. I still have all those things, and that's okay. And good for you for recognizing that. That's clearly Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mercy on you. We should all be so diligent in studying Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs. If we all did that instead of listening to Justin Timberlake, the world might be a better place. Sorry, JT. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Now let's offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are justly desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Jai. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Have a great day, everyone. Hari Bol.